Hey there, and welcome back to our 100-day Stardew Valley challenge. And if this is your first time here, then welcome. I highly recommend watching the first 3 videos to get caught up, but for a general overview, this is our 100-day Stardew Valley challenge, and this video covers the month of fall. And this is the same deal as before. The last video ended on day 56, so the first day of this month would be day 57 or the first day of fall. However, it's not going to be shown here because all we did was plant and water pumpkins and we went to bed at 9 a.m. So instead, this video will start on day 2 or day 58 of the challenge. Day 58, a fresh day in the new month of a beautiful fall.
Hey, all my plants are watered.
That was fast.
Sprinklers, baby.
Oh, that's right. I'm not used to that. Usually.
I know. Usually, I have to sit there and water all them.
Hey, weren't you supposed to move your crops over? Yeah.
I did.
No.
I moved the top ones over and not the bottom.
I had to move my crops. To start off the month, I forgot Elle had sprinklers now and she didn't need to spend her entire day watering her crops anymore. She also didn't move her crops for our doubled pathway like she made me move mine.
Oh, a new baby lizard hatched. Dinosaur name.
Sorry.
Dinosaur name.
What kind of dinosaur is it? That depends.
And it's green. I don't know. That's green. Dino, sure.
I'd like to point out that what you don't see here is an amazing poll I did where I said, let's name the dino Dino the Dino. This is a reference to the Flintstones, but Elle failed to catch the reference, so she just named it Dino just because. So it worked, but it didn't. Elle then tended to her animals, planted some extra seeds she had, and watered them. She shipped off some extra farm goods, and I spent my morning running around the forest looking for mushrooms and hazelnuts, but didn't find any. I then searched the bus stop area where I did manage to find a hazelnut. While on my way to the community center, I also found a common mushroom, and then continued on my way to the community center. While there, I donated the common mushroom and hazelnut to complete the fall foraging bundle, which got me some fall seeds out of it. While I was doing that, Elle was back at the farm finishing up some smelting. Afterwards, Elle and I headed to the lake and river to fish for a tiger trout. And it was during my fishing session that I realized a tiger trout could only be caught in the river, not the mountain lake, and it can only be caught until 7 p.m. and it was currently 5:30. Unfortunately, by the time I realized this, it was already 7 p.m. and we missed it. So we decided to call it a night. Day 59. I received a request from Marnie for an amaranth.
They're growing, but like I planted 2 for that quest because I knew we'd need it.
Thankfully, Elle informed me that she had already planted 2 of them for us and we just had to wait till they were ready. So I headed into town and made my way over to the river to fish for a tiger trout. While I did this, Elle tended to her animals, headed to Clint's to open up some geodes. She did get a gunther item out of one of them and then turned it into the museum. Afterwards, she joined me down at the river for some fishing. The very same river that I had been at this entire time and not caught a single thing.
I might have one.
You have one of what?
A tiger trout. I got one.
Bro, whatever, dog. Okay, go turn your tiger trout in. Yes, you are seeing this correctly. She literally caught this on her first try. She then donated to and completed the river fish bundle, and then headed back to the farm where she spent the rest of her night smelting gold. When Elle had finished donating to the bundle, I discovered a new mechanic I had never knew previously existed in the game.
You can check your, you don't have to run there, you can look in your thing.
Talking
about you, on your community center thing, you can look at the community center without having to go there.
I can?
Yes, you knew this. That's why you hover over it when you look over it.
Oh my god, I didn't know you could do that. I have been running here every single time to come check stuff. Deadass.
What do you think? What? You never thought to click on it? It just randomly flashed?
Yeah, I thought that was what. I thought that's how you know. That's right. I have 151 hours in Stardew Valley, and never knew that you could view the bundles without being in the community center. I genuinely used to run all the way to the center just to check what I needed for the bundles. I promise, we're actually good at this game. After all of that, we decided to call it a night. Day 60. I stood outside of Pam's until she emerged from her house, and then had a headbutting contest with her. I won, I think. I chose to spend day 60 in Skull Cavern to try and get some resources or levels if I even could, but because I'm not the host and Elle is, this game has some really janky connectivity issues between players, and we tend to run into some lagging stuff that happens like this. And this makes for a dangerous adventure when a slight mistake could cost you your life in Skull Cavern, and having lag issues while trying to dodge enemies that are or are not there really does suck. So I ended my expedition at around 2:30 to avoid this problem, and then I took the bus home. I then spent the rest of my night standing in front of the gem duplicator to get as many jades as we could for the later 1-for-1 trade for the staircases in the desert. While I dealt with my lagging issues, Elle started her day by tending to her animals, and then stood outside of Robin's to upgrade her barn.
Gunther item.
While waiting, she did find a Gunther item. After Robin opened, Elle upgraded her barn. This was so she could get a pig so we could get truffles later on. Afterwards, Elle decided to take a stroll through town. She tried to fight the mayor.
She didn't even see me, I'm around the corner.
Then headed to Gunther's to donate her item. I also never realized she's a psychopath who never collects her rewards. She strolled through town once again, the mayor bumped into her, and she tried to fight him, again, and then spent the rest of her day foraging and fishing. Later, while I was duplicating Jade, Elle had no idea that I was even duplicating in the first place, or that we even could duplicate.
You have one?
Yeah, we've had one the entire time, bro.
What?
Got it from a bundle, it's right here.
What?
Yeah, we've had one the entire time, bro.
I did not know that.
I should have been using it, so I should have been doing it. How much Jade do you have? Afterwards, Elle tended to her animals, and her and Quackerjack exchanged some words.
My duck just quacked very aggressively at me.
And finally, we ended the day. Day 61. I received the mission to reach level 25 in Skull Cavern from Mr. Q, and then stood around for what seemed like a very long time. I have no idea what I was doing here, but I'm guessing I walked away from my computer to go get some snacks. Now that we have the mission, Elle and I decided to go to the caverns today, but before we could go, Elle needed to take care of her animals. While Elle was doing that, we decided we didn't want to wait for Pam to walk to the bus, so I headed into town. I then walked over to Pam's house, and when I arrived, we butted heads like the animals that we are. Afterwards, we hopped on the bus and headed to the desert. Unfortunately, today was going to be a short day in the mine since I was experiencing some difficulties with lag and picking up objects, and at the same time, Elle had made it to the second floor where she was already about to die. Dude, they're stupid. It's dumb.
Like, I'm already about to die again.
Go, please. With Elle dying and my lag issues, we decided to end our cave diving for the day and head back home. I spent the rest of my day in the mountain mines grinding for some iron, and then later that night I headed back to the farm. Clint, it's the only other way to make a lot to get down there fast would be to blow up a bunch of rocks and try to find the things as fast. Because like, look at this Jade thing is still going. It would literally take us the next 30 days to get maybe 10, depending on how many days that takes to make a second one. Elle and I had spent the rest of the night coming up with a plan for how to attack the Skull Cavern issues we were dealing with. Since I was lagging, I'd be leaving her by herself to fight the mobs most of the time. The solution to this was stairs, but we have no quarry, so no easy way to grind in 9,900 stones we would need for our 100 staircases in a short amount of time. And Jade are rare and hard to find, so even if we use explosives to find them and the duplicator to make more of them, it would take most of the challenge to make enough for the trade, and with no solutions in mind, we called it a night. Day 62. Oh look, a Jade. Time to make another one and then get to wait 2 more days. Oh wait, is that my starfruit wine?
Yeah, sorry.
And my starfruit wine was finally ready, but Elle accidentally took it. To be fair, she's the one usually using the kegs and not me. After she handed it over to me, I shipped it off since we don't need it for anything anyways. And with nothing to do and me being bored, Elle suggested that I head to the mines. And much like her cow, Elle is also a witch. After our paranormal activity, I headed to Clint's to pick up some more coal for explosives for blast mining. Then spent the rest of my day in the mines grinding for some rocks and iron to also help make those same explosives.
Eggplant.
Elle started off her day much more productive than I did by collecting her eggplants, tending to her animals, and she got a large goat milk that we needed for the bundle.
Yee! Okay, I got a large goat milk.
Elle then headed down to Marnie's to purchase some animals, but upon her arrival, she noticed the exorbitantly high prices of the animals.
My god. A sheep is 8,000 and a pig is 16,000. I have 4,000 right now. And I still have to upgrade the coop at some point for 20,000 too. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go get these animals. There was no point in even upgrading it then. Jesus.
It's funny, we're broke in the game and in real life. At this point, we had no money because we spent all of it on our crops, and we wouldn't be wealthy enough for purchases till the middle of the month when pumpkins were ready. Afterwards, Elle headed to the community center to make some donations. She donated an eggplant to the fall crops bundle, and to her surprise, she completed the animal bundle.
Oh wait, I finished the bundle. It was only one, okay.
With her completion of the animal bundle, we earned a cheese press, which we're never going to use. Now, all we needed left was a pumpkin and a yam to unlock the greenhouse to grow our apple tree. Side note, this is important because the apple is for the Marnie bundle, but apples can only grow in fall, and they take 28 days, so if you miss the first day, no apples for you. So the workaround to this is a greenhouse with an apple tree in it so they produce all year long. After her donations, Elle headed back to the mines to swap out with me. While on her way, she stopped and talked to Demetrius. She then gave him a gift in hopes for a future Nautilus shell that we'd be needing. Afterwards, Elle tagged out with me in the mines, and I headed home, where I crafted 5 more explosives while Elle spent the rest of her day in the mines. After she was done, she headed back to the farm, and we called it a night. Day 63. I crafted 3 stone staircases from an entire previous day of mining, so I headed back to the mines to gather some more stone. Elle's day started off with her giving me 185 stone to help with the staircases that we needed, and we realized it was Sunday and we had missed the merchant on the previous Friday, so Elle took off for the merchant. And would you look at that, she has absolutely nothing that we need, like ever. She never has anything. So Elle went back to the farm and tended to her animals. She also broke some rocks from the farm to help with the staircases. Later that day, while Elle was chopping down some trees, she heard a very lovely noise. Can we talk about the fact that the train gets 2 notifications, a noise and a visual notification when it arrives, but the merchant lady gets nothing? You just have to know like what day it is. Who pays attention to that? I sure don't. Anyways, Elle headed to the train for some items. The train dropped off for her some coal, wood, copper, and stone. After her train drop off, Elle headed back to the farm. She pulled my jade out to keep making some more and did some last minute late night farming until finally calling it a night. During my sleep, I leveled up to mining level 8 and unlocked something called the Mega Bomb. Level 8 mining. Mega Bomb. What the does a Mega Bomb require? Because I will use it. I think I now know what I'll be using to blast mine from now on. Day 64. It's officially blackberry season, so we'll be harvesting the bushes quite a bit, and we have the amaranth we need for Marnie. To start off my morning, I crafted 4 staircases and 40 explosives. Elle gave me the amaranth, and I went to hunt down Marnie, but Elle reminded me she doesn't open till 9 a.m, so I turned around and went to find Linus's basket instead. After finding his basket, I then headed to Linus and picked up some blackberries along the way. I handed over the basket to Linus and then headed back to Marnie's, where she still wasn't at. Where is she? Elle, being the beast that she is at this game, knew Marnie would be at Pierre's, so I headed over there. Along the way, I found an iron bar in the trash can, and Elle was right, Marnie was in the store, so I handed Marnie her amaranth and promptly left. I then headed to the mines, where I spent the rest of my day getting iron and stone, and after most of the day mining, I started to get nothing from rocks, which usually means my game's about to crash or I'm going to get disconnected, so I left the mines to head back to the farm. I then stood around managing my inventory for the rest of the night before finally going to bed. Elle's day started off by her picking cranberries and harvesting her amaranth. She then tended to her animals and sold off some extra items she had. She also grabbed Linus's basket and handed Marnie her amaranth. Later, she sold some cranberries she had collected. Later in the day, she found Linus definitely not creeping at the hot springs and gave him his basket. She then went back to the farm and did some late afternoon farming, sold off some extra farm goods she had, and called it an early night. Day 65. I received a notice about the Stardew Valley Fair coming to town. I grabbed some of mine and Elle's extra geodes, reset the Jade duplicator, and then headed to Clint's, where I waited outside patiently for him to open his doors. Once it hit 9 a.m, I stole Clint's trash and headed inside to process some geodes, where I didn't get a single Gunther item and proceeded to sell them off to buy some more iron from Clint's. I then spent the rest of my day in my favorite place ever. Elle's day started off with her tending to her animals and receiving a dino egg.
Got a dino egg.
And she made mayonnaise out of it because she was clicking so much and didn't pay attention to what was in her hands.
Damn it.
She also said it so quietly that I didn't hear her say it at all.
I accidentally made into dino mayonnaise.
She then headed into town, went to the beach to look for items, and spent her day fishing in the ocean and in the river later that evening. Later that evening, Elle finally admitted to her mayonnaise incident from earlier.
I accidentally made dinosaur mayonnaise. It made an egg, and I was gonna give it to Gunther because we needed to give it to Gunther. I put it in a mayonnaise machine.
Incorrectly identified our dinosaur.
It's fine, he keeps making eggs, it's fine. My bad.
She's stressing me out, you know.
I'm stressing myself out, you know?
And is stressing us both out apparently. After I was done in the mines, I headed back to the farm, and I crafted more explosives, giving us 80 in total, and finally we called it a night. Day 66. I spent the entire day figuring out why in 10 days of fall we hadn't seen rain one time, and I'm sure you've noticed by now, but it hasn't rained a single day this entire month. We were worried about this because we were short on time for this challenge, and yes, we still have winter. However, every day of no rain is one less day we have to spend doing anything in the rain itself that is required. Our fear was that we'd end up like some people who stated they never saw rain for 18 days of fall, and some said it never rained in fall at all. Hey, that rhymed. So I spent my entire day trying to figure out how to get a rain totem or even how to make a rain totem. But both of these plans failed, and I resorted to calling it quits when it hit late at night with no luck on a solution to our problem. Elle's morning started off with her checking the weather and the spirits. She received some stone from George, collected her blueberry wine, tended to her animals, and sold off her extra farm goods. She then headed down to Marnie's. While there, she purchased a pig. She didn't like the 2 random names it gave her, and she named it Hamlet, because fuck it, we're about class on this farm. She then spent the rest of the day in the mines collecting some stone for us and some copper for herself, and eventually we called it a night. Day 67. I received a gift from Demetrius that wasn't a nautilus shell. Elle yelled about her yams.
Yeah.
And reminded me about the traveling merchant tomorrow that I'm sure we absolutely won't forget about. Okay, we need to remember that. We're probably not going to, but still. Wow, even I knew we wouldn't remember that. I then headed to the little pond at the bottom of our farm to look for a nautilus shell in the traps. So this is where the game gets confusing. We needed a nautilus shell for the bundle, and there's a couple ways you can get one. One is through Demetrius if you have enough hearts with him. The other way is through the crab pots, and I was mistaken and I thought you could use this pond specifically on your farm, but after reading it out loud to Elle, she informed me that there was another pond we needed to use use that we actually build, and it has fish inside of it, and that's how you get the shell. And with the time we had left in this challenge, it wasn't even worth attempting to build this new pond with fish. So we crossed our fingers and hoped Elle could get enough hearts with Demetrius to give her the shell that we needed. Later, I watered my random seeds because I was bored and hoped that Elle could pick these and increase her foraging skill. Afterwards, I headed into town, stopped by Clint's, told him I was upset that he never gives me Gunther items. I then left and went over to Gunther's to donate a dwarf scroll I had found earlier. This has been the first time in a while since I've given Gunther anything, and this put us at 55 out of 60 items for the challenge. We just needed 5 more. I then spent the rest of my day in the mines grinding for some stone for our staircases. Elle started off her day by collecting her yams and eggplants, tending to her animals, selling some of her extra farm products, and heading to the community center. Once there, she donated the yam to the fall crops bundle, leaving us just a pumpkin left for the greenhouse. Afterwards, she headed back into town and fished for a little bit. She then foraged and chopped down some trees for the rest of the day. Later in the night, going to the secret forest to get some hardwood, stop it, and finally we ended the day with 12 staircases and 109 explosives. Day 68. I started off by watering my fall seeds.
Traveling merchant.
Traveling merchant. Holy shit, you're a goddess. Thank you. I already forgot. Wow, thankfully Elle remembered the traveling merchant because I had already forgotten. Have something we need, have red cabbage, have everything we need, have everything we need. She's got a halibut, a battery pack, a mushroom, a parsnip, a clam, a pomegranate sapling, a poppy seed, pomegranate sapling, slime, plum pudding, luxury bookcase, and a wedding ring. She doesn't have anything. And of course, as usual, she has nothing we need. I then headed back to the farm, sold off some extra stuff I had lying around, grabbed my trusty fishing rod, and spent the rest of my day fishing at the mountain lake. Elle started off her day by tending to her animals, and sold off 2 of her farm items. She then spent the rest of her day in the mines collecting stone and materials that we needed. Later that night, Elle and I met back up, and we headed home to call it a night. Day 69.
Nice.
Oh my god, it's raining! Holy shit. It was finally a rainy day and the spirits were happy. It was actually a very lucky day. Elle also found out it was going to be raining all the next day as well, which gives us 2 days back to back for mines and catching the walleye. Now the walleye is a nighttime fish between 12 p.m. and 2 a.m. So we had some time to breathe before we needed to catch one either today or tomorrow. We decided to run the skull cavern today, however. We were confident in our abilities to catch the fish, but a very lucky day was rare and they have a significant effect on the activities you do during the day. And we wanted to use the opportunity that we had. We took our 12 staircases and 109 explosives and made a run to the mines.
Woo!
Jump in. 3 levels. Our plan was to use the explosives to blast our way through the rocks and enemies to find ladders as fast as we could without wasting our staircases unless we desperately needed them. But even with all the explosives, food, and resources we had, we still couldn't overcome the absolute brutal nature that the dragons are and how fast they can kill you. We had to take our defeat after only making it 14 levels and leave Skull Cavern empty-handed. This was extremely frustrating as it was a lucky day and we had found only 1 hole out of our entire run and it only dropped us 3 levels. And at best, with explosives clearing most of the floors, we could only get down 14 levels as they were extremely large and ladders wouldn't spawn on our first, second, or sometimes even 3rd explosive. And with our heads hanging low, we ended our day. Day 70.
Pumpkins!
Pumpkins! It was finally pumpkin day. We spent the next what felt like 2 hours picking all of our pumpkins. I then quickly headed to the traveling merchant. Slime, halibut, sprinkler, batwing, super cucumber, ice cream, pizza, cactus fruit, large goat milk.
No, we already did it.
Strawberry, skull poster, wedding ring. And yet again, another disappointing day of her stock. It seems like she doesn't travel very far with what's always in her inventory. Afterwards, I headed into town and stopped off at Pierre's to sell my pumpkins. And would you look at that, 220k. But I had to buy 507 more pumpkins to replace the ones I had just sold. But I'd still be able to keep a large sum of money until the next batch was ready at the end of the month. Finally, we were relieved. Now having enough money, we would be able to finish any projects we needed. While I was running around dealing with my morning tasks, Elle had hers as well. She started off by picking her pumpkins, tending to her animals, and then heading to the community center. While there, she donated to and completed the fall crops bundle, giving us the greenhouse. She then headed to Pierre's where she sold all of her pumpkins and some extras for 100k gold. She then purchased 248 more pumpkins. We were both posted up on a spot and fishing until we either caught the walleye or needed to plant our seeds, but both had to happen before 2 a.m. We were now racing the fish and the seeds to beat the clock, and just as we were questioning if we'd be able to manage this task, I caught the walleye at 7 p.m. Got one!
Oh, thank God.
giving us just enough time left in our day. I took off to the community center, where I donated to and finished the night fishing bundle, and laughably I was awarded a small glowstone ring for the absolute nightmare of a bundle that this was. Annoyingly, I got caught up in the animation of the Junimo. Afterwards, I ran back to the farm and hastily planted all of my seeds. After the fish catching, Elle headed back to the farm where she placed down a bee house and then planted her remaining pumpkin seeds. And finally, we called it a night and got to watch the beautiful, yet again very out of sync Junimo dance to repair the greenhouse. I also hit level 10 farming, where I picked the agriculture perk, allowing me to sell my future pumpkins for more money. Day 71, I was reminded that the Stardew Valley fair was the next day at 9 a.m. I then watered my fall seeds, shipped out some extra items I had lying around, and realized it was Monday and I had forgot to trade my jade the day before for some staircases. So I headed to Gunther's and handed over my ancient seed to get us one step closer to completing the 60 items. But I did get a plantable ancient seed out of the deal, so that was cool. I then headed back to the farm where I planted and watered the one ancient seed we had. I then stood around for the rest of the day doing absolutely nothing, grabbed some extra geodes for Clint's, and then realized I wasted so much time standing around that it was already 5 and he was closed. So I headed to bed. Elle's day was a little bit more productive. After she woke up, she picked her corn and shipped it, made some coffee, collected some iron, tended to her animals, made some more coffee, then drank that coffee, smelted some more iron, shipped off some more items, and then finally headed to Robin's, where she upgraded her coop to a bigger one. Afterwards, she headed to Pierre's, and she purchased an apple tree sapling and a pomegranate tree sapling for the greenhouse. She then headed back to the farm. She was then confused about how to plant the trees because the wiki is super confusing like it always is and doesn't explain how or where you should really plant the trees at. So she said screw it and just planted them randomly. Oh look, it's me sitting around doing nothing while Elle's being very productive. Shocker. She then collected her iron bars and crafted 3 quality sprinklers. She then made some more coffee. With all this coffee drinking and making, I guess you could call this Starbucks Valley. Please don't sue me. She then headed back to the greenhouse to place the sprinklers down. She misclicked and placed one down by accident, but she didn't realize it. She then placed the other 2 down inside the greenhouse, and at this point you can see her confusing because she's pretty sure she had 3 of them and is confused where the 3rd one vanished to. Oh look, there it is. She then places the last sprinkler down, and finally tilling and watering the soil before planting her pumpkins. And with all the fun over with, we called it a night. Day 72. Today is the Stardew Valley Fair, but first I need to grab my jade. This fair is a good and a bad thing. It's good because we can get some extra fun stuff like rare crows and star drops, but in the spirit of this challenge, there's not really much point to doing this fair. However, we also can't do anything farm-wise as our farm is mostly automated and leaves us little room to work with aside from decorating. And on top of that, all the NPCs are unusable on this day as well because they're all at the fair. So for the first time in a while, we opted to attend the fair because we thought it would be fun and not because we had to. But before we could go, Elle had to tend to her animals. Afterwards, we headed to the fair, and there they are, the rare crow and star drop, the 2 items I aim for every time I attend this fair. I first started off with the single strength test, which took me 5 tries before finally getting the star from it, because I'm just that good. I was curious how much it would cost to buy stars because, you know, money can't solve all your problems.
Are you buying them?
And I got caught by Elle trying to buy stars. I then played the wager game and bet on orange. When I did this, Elle informed me about the green trick.
I found the trick for that. You always bet on green because the probability is
and I promptly lost as I bet on orange and it landed on green. Wow, this game really does just kick you when you're down sometimes. So I resorted to the fishing game as it's the fastest way I've found to get stars in a short amount of time. After collecting enough stars, I then ran over to the wager game. I picked green and I bet 300 stars. And to my surprise, I actually won. Seems like Elle was right about the green over the orange odds. So I bet another 200 stars again, and surprisingly, I won again. So I said screw it, and a 3rd time's a charm and bet another 200 stars. Any guess on what happened? If you guess I lost, you're wrong. I won a 3rd time, screw you. At this point, I was now at 1,132 stars, but I didn't trust my odds for a 4th time winning. So I went back to the fishing game, got a few more stars, and took those stars to bet a little bigger on my 4th time. This time I bet 400 stars, and of course, I lost all of it because that's just the odds. So angered and wanting revenge, I said it and bet all of my money, and I won too. And because I'm a responsible adult who would never bet that much money twice, I bet 800 the 2nd time. And I won! Now that that was over with and I had 2,528 stars, I could purchase the star drop. And because I'm an absolutely responsible adult with my money and never waste it, I bet all my stars again and lost them all. Man, I'm really bad at this gambling thing. Now bored and with no stars, I went back to playing the target practice game. With an extra couple stars in my pocket and being a responsible adult that I am, I bet all my money on green again. And it actually won again, doubling my earnings. And of course, I went big for the 2nd time and unfortunately lost all of my money for the last time. With no money left, I just hung out. But up to this point, Elle hasn't managed to get her star drop and didn't have enough stars. Her luck just wasn't there this time. So I made a deal with her. Just bet it all on green right now. All of it, bet on green. You lose it, it is what it is. We walk away, you get it, cool. Bet all your stars in this last shop, give it your all, and if you win, you'll buy it. And if you lose it all, we'll walk away, and it is what it is. Being the absolute beast that she is, she took the challenge to get it all in this last shot, all or nothing. You lucky. You're welcome. And holy she actually managed to win it. With enough stars now, Elle purchased her star drop. And with all the fun we had at the fair, we had to call it a night and say goodbye to the Stardew Valley Fair, ending our 72nd day on the challenge. Day 73. I started off by watering my plants and then heading to Clint's. Found a geode in Gunther's trash, that's interesting, and waited outside of Clint's till he opened. Once Clint let me in, I busted open the last of our geodes, netting us 2 Gunther items, and Elle had the 3rd item we needed, which was her dinosaur egg that she wasn't gonna make into mayonnaise this time. And as I suspected, we only had 59 out of 60 items even after Elle's dinosaur egg. We needed to hunt down one more item. With nothing else to do, I headed to the mines for a run for iron and geodes. Upon arrival at the mines, I found this dwarf thing. You can like give him a gift and he will like start speaking to you afterwards, but I don't know what you're supposed to do with him. He like sells you random stuff. I don't know, he was really short with me, I guess. Oh look, a ghost fish out of a ghost. I needed that 2 videos ago. While I was in the mines, Elle had started her day by tending to her animals, chopping down some trees, picked berries in the cave, donated her egg to the museum, and gave Emily a gift. She then went back to the farm and did some late night farming. She crafted and placed 5 more kegs and filled them all with coffee. After my run was completed, I headed back to the farm, smelted some of the ores I had, and shipped off a bunch of extra items that I had to include the ghost fish. And afterwards, we called it a night. Day 74. I collected my bars of iron and iridium and smelted some more iron. I found 4 extra geodes that I didn't notice and took them to Clint's to hopefully get a Gunther item, and no Gunther items. Afterwards, I headed into town. I made my way down to the beach for any items that I could find, stopped off at Willie's to purchase my first iridium item, the iridium rod, and then I headed back to the farm. I then picked all of my fall crops since Elle no longer needs to pick them, and then shipped them all off. And with nothing else to do, I sat on my porch and enjoyed the nice fall breeze. Elle's day started off with her collecting her coffee and making more coffee. She's turning into a real barista. She collected her iron and smelted some copper, picking her cranberries and shipping them off. She spent some time cleaning up around the farm, and then she headed to Robin's, where she upgraded her house. She then headed back to the farm, collected her copper bars, and smelted some more copper. Then she collected her coffee and made more coffee afterwards. She did some late afternoon farming, and she headed to Marnie's to buy a rabbit.
Of course she's not working. Why would she be?
But surprise, Marnie wasn't there because Marnie's just never there. So she took her frustration out on a poor nearby tree and then headed back to the farm. She collected and made another batch of coffee, made one last round of her animals, shipped off some extra items she had, and after all was said and done, we called it a night. Day 75. I got cornered by George's wife with a pot. Received an order from Caroline to bring her a pumpkin so she can carve it for the Halloween event. Collected my gold bars and smelted some more. Headed into town, but then remembered it was Friday. Traveling merchant.
Traveling merchant. Oh my god. We're so bad at this.
I just remembered. I'm gonna go down.
Why?
Would today be the day we got a red cabbage? Come on. Okay, so large goat milk, pufferfish, hardwood fence, wood floor, tulip, fried calamari, cactus tea, green tea, a duck feather.
No, I already donated one.
Rare crow, red crow. No, and as always, she had literally nothing. So I headed back to the farm and was talking about an idea I had with the prismatic shard. I got distracted by the coffee and then continued to talk about my thought process. Something I didn't know is if you have one single prismatic shard and you take it into the desert where those pillars are, you can get a special galaxy sword. So before I went to do that, I decided to head to Clint's to upgrade my axe, but failed to realize I didn't have the bars I needed for the upgrade, so I had to run back and grab them. Elle sneezed, but it looked like she yielded for me. I grabbed the bars I needed, teleported back to Clint's and upgraded my pickaxe. Took the bus to the desert for a new sword, and I got my galaxy sword. I then headed back to the farm and spent my time helping Elle out with her coffee. I then showed her my new sword.
Look at you.
She wasn't impressed. I then spent the rest of the day enjoying my fall breeze. Eventually, I did change it up and stood around with some gold on my head like a princess. Elle started off her day by collecting her coffee and made some more. She put her new pot down in the greenhouse and tended to her animals. She then headed to Clint's to upgrade her pickaxe to gold. She then ran into Haley, who was about to find out that Elle's hands were rated E for everyone. She headed to Marnie's to purchase a rabbit and named it Bun Banu. What is this, a Pokemon? Ah, Bun Bun. Nope, still sounds like a Pokemon. She then contemplated how badly she wanted an auto grabber and then realized how much she hates doing her daily chores, so she bought it. She then headed back to the farm. She did some late afternoon farming and placed down her auto grabber, and with nothing left to do, we called it an early day. Day 76. I collected my gold and smelted some more. Collected the coffee and Elle's pale ale for her. I then made some more coffee, and Elle gave me some hops so I could make some ale for Pam later on. I then had nothing to do, so I stood around and enjoyed the beautiful sound of Robin hitting her hammer on wood for a 10th day in a row. I then collected more coffee and replaced it along with a hop as well. I then redid this smelting, collecting, and placing coffee and Robin hitting her hammer on routine for the rest of the day. Elle's day was identical to how it always is with her morning animal routine, and she spent her entire day doing that while I did the coffee merry-go-round. Neither of us left the farm this day, and with nothing else for us to do, we decided to call it an early night. Day 77, we had nothing left to do, and we made one last run to the trader for a red cabbage, and of course, there was nothing. At this point, we were frustrated and upset that this game's RNG would prevent us from finishing this challenge. But with nothing left to do, and the end of the month approaching, we made a decision that would affect our playthrough in a small way, but was still important enough that I wanted to come clean and explain what we did. We cheated. But how did we cheat, and why? Our decision to cheat was a small but important choice that we both made together. At this point, I had been plagued with lag to no end. I couldn't survive most days in the game without being disconnected, and if I were deep in the mines and got disconnected and found, like, let's say a prismatic shard, then it wouldn't count and I'd be kicked to the home screen, losing any immediate progress. The lag in the mines didn't help either with mobs. This, coupled with the RNG, made it nearly impossible for us to find stone or jade to be able to bypass the skull cavern floors, since fighting our way down was suicide every single time, and even with a galaxy sword, because it's no good if I can't hit what I can't see. At this point, we chose to use a glitch more than we call it a cheat, and I'm not trying to defend myself, more like I'm trying to explain our thought process behind the decision we made. The glitch we used was to make multiple items of the same object, so a duplication glitch. Now, this glitch has been in the game for years, and it's so well known that you can literally find forums dating back on the issue from years ago, and YouTube videos all over the place. So we felt that it wasn't so game breaking that Concerned Ape himself didn't seem so concerned about it. We also consider this on par with the chair glitch to get into the secret forest, because you're using something in the game to bypass an area he obviously doesn't want us to be in, but we all do it anyways. I argue that using a glitch that's been in the game for years to give myself an advantage over the RNG hardly compares to all the other types of chair glitches and mods that people use in the game to make their lives easier and faster, but at the end of the day, a cheat is a cheat. Now, we only copied 2 objects in the entire game, and that was the jades to make the staircases and iridium bars. Because you think me getting to floor 100 was bad with lag and desync? Try mining for the rarest ore in the game at the same time when you can't even pick it up. Because of this, I'm going to call our iridium items our cheater items. This will be a fail within our challenge list because 100% we did obtain these items from a non-fair means of doing so. This process of duplication was not easy and took us from day 77 to day 80 to complete. Also, these days were rainy days, and with nothing else to do, there was no reason to show any of the footage for these days. One, because I'm not going to show how we did this glitch to prevent others who don't know how it works from learning from my video, and 2, we just kind of stood around in the rain for some of those days. The only things we legitimately accomplished was on day 78. We turned in the truffle, maki roll, and fried egg to complete the chef's bundle, and gave Pam her ale on the same day. We see this as a fail in the challenge overall and take it as so, but wanted to at least complete the other challenges on our list that we set forth and try to finish out the rest of the first year. Day 81. These next few days were super quick and are going to be in rapid fire sequence, as we didn't have anything to do and we cheated the harder parts of this game, and we're simply waiting for pumpkins, a red cabbage that we'd never find, and a run to Skull Cavern on the last day of the month. This day was super fast, and we went to bed at 9 AM because we had accomplished most of everything for the day and had nothing left to do. The only thing we did outside of the regular morning routines was I took a battery to the Mr. Q box in the tunnel to get his mission for the rainbow shell that I would absolutely not be doing because I never seem to find those rainbow shells. Elle also did her usual animal farming routine on this day as well. Day 82. My cheater axe was ready, and there was a festival that we don't ever attend that was happening tonight, and it was Friday, so the traveling merchant was in town. Want to guess what she didn't have? That's right, no red cabbage. I know this seems like we're complaining a lot about this, and at this point, well, we are. You're 100% correct. This game is brutal when it comes to the end of year 1, when there's nothing left to do and you just need 1 or 2 items, but they seem to be nearly impossible to find, and you're at the mercy of the gaming gods and what they decide you get to have. With only 1 object left that we could possibly control, I dove into the mines and took a look for our last Gunther item. And there it was, at long last, the last Gunther item we needed for the museum. I then quickly headed to Gunther's and donated the last item. I kind of expected more to happen when you hit 60 items, but hey, I'm just happy we finally got Krobus unlocked. I went back to the farm and called it an early day. Elle's day was the same day it's been for the last month. The only thing different she did was she picked up her cheater axe as well. Day 83, the second to last day of the month. And it was the second long awaited day, our second harvesting of pumpkins. So we spent the next couple of minutes picking our pumpkins. And with no more crops for this challenge, I started the process of taking down my sprinklers. I then shipped off all my pumpkins that I had picked, and I kept 1 for Caroline. By this point, Elle had picked all her pumpkins as well and went to bed already. I then prepped my inventory for the next day, as our last day of the month would be rushing Skull Cavern, the very thing we spent the last 27 days preparing for. Overnight, we finally hit the challenge completion of earning 1 million gold for the farm. And yes, this was a legit 1 million gold. We didn't cheat at this. You can watch all the videos. We actually sold a lot of and me being sad that now I had almost 400k gold and I can't even use it because we wouldn't be continuing on past year 1. Elle's day was the same as before with her animals, and she picked her pumpkins and prepped her inventory for the next day as well. Day 84, the final day of the month. We officially hit 1 million gold the previous night for our farm in year 1, and at this point we were both over this challenge and wanted it to be done with. And I realized it was Sunday, so for this month we had one more chance to catch the trader for a red cabbage. So we made our way over there as fast as we could. And yet again, for like, what number is this now? Has anyone been keeping track of how many times this has failed? She didn't have anything. No cabbage, no nothing we actually needed. This is insane. After the traveling merchant, I made my way over to Pam's to take my rage out with a headbutting contest, and she beat me. We did our last minute checks of our inventory and hopped in the bus over to the desert. We bought our cheater staircases, giving us 108 in total. Here's the funny part of this, and I'm curious if any of you have caught on to this at this point. We had been planning out this entire charade for the level 100 mission for Mr. Q, even since the very beginning of this video. But what we failed to realize was that the level 25 mission and the level 100 mission are two completely different things. The level 25 mission you get automatically from Mr. Q whenever you start in Skull Cavern itself, but the level 100 mission is from a secret note number 10 that you get after meeting Krobos and getting the spyglass for the secret notes. So we had wasted all of our time and cheated to get to level 100 without ever knowing what we were actually doing or even why. And for your viewing pleasure, here's our Skull Cavern cheater run to level 109. We did make it to level 25 and completed that mission for Mr. Q. And later we made it to level 100.
I saw you just go down.
I'm at 100.
Okay, I am too. Oh, no, I'm at 99. Okay, I'm at 100 now.
There's nothing here. When we realized that what we were looking at was not the same as what we thought we would be seeing on level 100. I thought it was 100.
I thought so too.
Were we lied to? No, you were not lied to. You were just misinformed and didn't read for yourself. So with confusion and defeat, we left the cave and warped back home where Elle made a shocking discovery.
If you have secret note number 10, once you reach level 100 of Skull Cavern, Mr. Q will be waiting for you.
That's right. Even after all the cheating we did, we still managed to fail the challenge. So I guess in the end, we didn't cheat technically. I mean, like we did, but we didn't accomplish anything from it and we wasted them all. So we no longer have the items. I don't know. I'll let you decide. And that's the end of the third month in the first year of this challenge. Even after all we did thinking we bested the game, in the end, Concerned Ape still won because I'm just too lazy to read his wiki. And thank you for watching. If you like this video, then check out some of the others. I'm in the works of finishing the last video of this series, the winter season. And after all the videos are done, I plan to put them all together in one final movie and apply what I've learned making these last few videos to hopefully revamp the entire playthrough. So keep an eye out for that. And as always, thank you for watching. We hope to see you in the next one.